Hello, dear colleagues. Nice to see each of you here. Today, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Alexandr Yenikeyev. He has been working at EPAM about 9 years, and he has been starting his career from junior manual engineer. And nowadays, he is playing a team leader and project coordinator role. His topic is starting the new project from scratch, his own experience. And I believe that it will be useful for you listeners. And I want to add a few words about our rules. The session will be recorded, and you can post your questions in the chat during the session, and also you can vote your question during the session. And that's it. All right. I pass in the words to Alexandra.
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Irina, for introducing me. And hello, colleagues. Hello, all of you. Thank you for coming. I hope you can see my screen and myself. And let me start my report. So what I want to talk to you about today is about my experience in starting a new project from scratch in a role of QA lead. Let me talk about me a little bit, introduce myself. My name is Alexandr Yenikeyev. Currently, I'm working as software testing team leader at EPAM. I have more than 10 years of experience in IT in general and more than 8 or probably 9 years in QA and more than 8 years at EPAM. I currently work as a Scrum Master on my project that I actually helped to start from scratch. And I had a lot of experience in these days working as a junior QA engineer and leveling up. And I had wonderful opportunities to lead the teams and participate in many projects. And I want to share some of this experience with you guys. Let me start with the agenda. So first of all, I want to talk about some of the possible drawbacks of joining established projects that currently already exist and have the team. And also, I want to talk to you about the benefits of joining the new project and tell you about my experience. How did we start the project from the scratch? So let me start. And before I start talking about joining established project, I would like to ask our lovely moderator, Irina, to post 2 questions in the chat. And I would ask you guys to vote for them. In the meanwhile, I'm going to talk. So, of course, joining the established project may be absolutely ideal for you and awesome experience that you have had already. And you didn't encounter any of the drawbacks that I'm going to talk about, but some of my experience had not been so rainbow and ponies. So let's talk about some of the drawbacks that you may encounter. So first of all, when you join established projects that exist for some time already, this is quite interesting experience, and you may encounter some drawbacks. For example, if you are talking about joining the new project as a QA lead, you are going to join established team and established processes already on this project. And some of these processes may not be ideal. Some of the processes may be in quite the need to be improved, to become more efficient, to become more efficient and valuable for the customer, to bring more value to the customer. And this may be difficult to change, because once you are joining the project that has already existed for some time, and you are joining the team has already existed for some time and worked together with each other, this may be difficult to explain to the team and to the project and to the project manager and maybe even to the customer that the processes that they have already established may not be somewhat ideal, right? And you may need to spend a lot of time defending your suggestions and giving your suggestions enough reasoning to implement them. Of course, also implementing these suggestions may be difficult because changing established project may be somewhat time consuming, and maybe the project doesn't have such time. Also, when you join the project, especially as a QA lead, but also just a QA, for example, you are joining some established team, and some of the knowledge that you are going to have to need to quite efficiently work on this project may be lost in translation. Because when you are joining the project that has already been working for quite some time, and sometimes some team members that may have essential knowledge may not be available already, or you may have some kind of issues with time and with deadlines for your onboarding, and such essential knowledge may be lost. These are few, of course, of the things that may be quite difficult in joining the established project. Maybe you encountered some of them, maybe not. Let's see, Irina, if you have been given some likes or to the questions I had.
Yeah, we have the majority people voted for the first that they had issue with on the beginning of the project.
So you probably already had such experience, and of course, some experiences in joining an established project may not be like that. It may be absolutely awesome, and everything would be given to you in the knowledge department, and processes may be already absolutely wonderful. But of course, as you guys experienced, some of it may not go so well, and you may have difficulties with this. So in this, I would like to start with joining the new project actually, and what benefits would be versus established project. So let's talk about this briefly. So benefits of the joining the new project. Once you join the new project that hasn't been existing before, that doesn't have a team, doesn't have processes, doesn't have anything, and basically doesn't exist, only in prototyping maybe, you have more influence on many things in joining this project. You will have an influence on composing the team that you want to. And not only you want to work with some people more than the others, but you will have a say in selecting the people with necessary and required knowledge and skills for this project, because you are going to be at the beginning of the project and you will know what needs to be done. You're going to have a lot of say and a lot of, let's say, power, right, to setting up the processes, QA processes on the project, and actually not only QA processes, because if you are part of the core team, you are going to be having discussions with your management and with the Scrum Masters and with development to establish processes that are going to work on this new project. And of course, setting up a good communication within the team and with the customer from the very start. And this is, I think, a very important part of the joining the new project, because having good relationship with your customer is, in my opinion, essential for any project. And once you are joining the new project and communicating with the customer directly from the very start, you have a brilliant opportunity to actually establish some kind of probably great working relationship, and maybe even not working relationship, just small talks and talking with your customer about the regular things and regular life. And I think this is very healthy for the project in general. And also, of course, if you are joining the new project, you are going to be selecting and helping at least selecting the new team members, and you are going to be at the very start of this project. So you are going to have time, and if you want to, you are going to be able to establish a great relationship within team, and not only QA team, but the team for the project in general. So let me tell you about my experiences, how I experienced joining the new project and starting it from the scratch as a QA lead. First of all, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you how the project even starts at the very beginning. So, of course, it doesn't have to be this way that we had in my experience, but at the very least, usually the customer have some kind of an issue or a problem or an idea, maybe not necessarily a problem, right, that they want to implement, and then they come to the company. In our case, they came to EPAM with some ideas that they wanted to change. In our case, our customer already had a product, an application that was used by the end clients and end users, but they were not very happy with this application. They had some performance issues. They had some difficulty with user friendliness of this project, and that impacted the profits and the value it brought. So they decided upon one time that they wanted to create probably a different application altogether, or probably even several applications to rectify this problem. They didn't want to remove the legacy application that they already have. Instead, they wanted to connect our new product to this legacy application. So they came to us and they spoke with our management, and it was decided that yes, we are going to start this project. Once we started thinking about this project, our management started gathering a core team. Let me switch to another slide. A core team has been created within our company, and it consisted mainly of management, Scrum Master, and the leads of BA, development, QA team, and of course DevOps team and UX team as well. So our core team didn't really know anything about the project at the beginning, so we started gathering the initial information and try to understand the initial domain. What are we going to be doing, and what the company that came to us, what our customer is actually doing. And funny thing, at first we didn't really understand it correctly, and we had to relearn during the discovery phase that followed what we are actually going to be doing, because the domain is quite interesting and specific, but still. We started gathering this information, and we started communicating with the customer offline, usually using emails and maybe sometimes messengers, but that was very rare. So when we started understanding what is going on, we started working on the upcoming discovery phase. And what is discovery phase actually? So usually it's done in several ways. Actually, in our case, we came to the customer site. We gathered our team and we came to a different basically country, to the office of the customer, to talk about the project and gather necessary information. But it doesn't have to be this way. It may be conducted offline, maybe using emails. It probably would be less effective, but still it's possible, and considering today's times, probably it is the only possible way. Otherwise, maybe customer can come to you, to your company, and to your team instead of the team coming to the customer to discuss these things. But in my case, we came to the customer site and we started gathering the information. And what we were trying to gather? We were trying to gather the project scope, first of all, what the project is going to be, what we are going to work on, what our customer actually needed in this application, and would it be actually one application or several applications. We tried to gather initial requirements for this project. It wasn't anything detailed because at this stage of the project it is impossible to actually gather some very detailed information, but we tried our best to get the most details, of course. We were choosing software development methodology, and actually we started doing this even before the discovery phase started with our customer via emails. And we started selecting test management tools, and this was somewhat my responsibility as a QA lead. How did we do this? It's actually very interesting. When we came to the customer, first of our day of our discovery phase was basically introduction, and at that time we understood that our customer actually was very interested in this project, and they actually hired some people from IT departments to increase their IT departments and to have people that would be participating and involved in our project all the time. And that was actually very, very good and considerate for them, for us, because with the people who were working with us constantly, we got to know them, and these people actually understood what we were talking about from technical side. And this actually decreased the difficulty for us to present some of the things that we wanted to present, because some of these people actually understood what we were talking about. Some, of course, of the business people that were present, they didn't really go to many details, but still. How did we start gathering information? We had a lot of meetings with our customer, workshops and brainstorms, where we discussed what the customer wanted, listened to their suggestions, listened to what they already have, and actually had a demonstration of the current product, legacy product that they already had. And during this demonstration, we also took notes and made the suggestions what we need to improve from this. Also, we discussed some of the things not only with the customer themselves and with the IT people, but also our UX teams actually gone to the end users of this application who would be using this application to get some feedbacks from them. And that was very interesting experience because some of these people were very different, of course, and they had different knowledge of technologies. Basically, they had different understanding and different backgrounds and age and everything, and this has impacted the answers very, very drastically. So once we were doing this, we actually were, of course, taking notes and creating some kind of initial documentation. And for me, this was a test plan and strategy draft. Why I'm saying draft is because during the actual discovery phase, we do not really need any kind of finalized test strategy and test plan, because most likely you are not going to have enough information to finalize everything there. And of course, depending on the customer, some of the customer may not even need this document at all and will not sign it off. But with our case, they did actually sign it off once, and we still update this document throughout the project life. But it is not really strict for us, because our customer decided to trust us enough with these things, and only use this document when it is required to clarify something. But still, even though customer may not need this document, I think it is essential to have this document ready, and during the discovery phase, you may be in the very big need to gather as much information as possible, because you are going to be the QA lead, and you are going to be the one who is going to compose the new team and establish initial processes on your project. So we did this. I took a lot of notes, and I started designing this plan. You have a little expert on the screen from the plan that we currently have, and that was not, of course, so detailed at first. We were trying to gather as much information as possible, and I was trying to make this plan as readable as possible for our customer. But still, at the first draft, our plan was too big, too much, and we decided to change it a little bit, remove some of the things. And actually, that was a discussion that was very interesting, and I think you should consider this, because not all of the templates are usable for your situation. Some of the templates may be too big and have too much information, and customer and you actually wouldn't even need this information in the future. But for some projects, it may be different, of course. Also, aside from creating test strategy and test plan, which I did actually create, and one of the things that I didn't mention, that during the discovery phase, we didn't actually know that our customer wanted automation really badly, and we didn't have automation lead in our core team at first. So I was the one to detail everything as much as possible for the automation lead to come and join our team. So while we found out that our customer wanted at the very least a critical path to be 100% covered by automation test cases, we started searching for the appropriate person who is going to join our project from the start. And thankfully, we found such a person, and that was a wonderful guy who helped establish us very, very good processes for automation and helped establish our automation team. But still, aside from test plan and test strategy drafts, we were gathering some additional information, of course. So first we created initial communication plan. And you can see some of the experts again of these documents on the screen. They are not really detailed, and you do not have to pay a lot of attention as a template or something like that, because it would be different for everyone. But still, we were trying to gather such an information for the future work of our project. Way of working document that we started creating at the first, basically, not at the first day of the discovery phase, but as soon as we got necessary information for this. We started detailing in this way of working plan the initial processes for all of the teams, not only QA team, that is going to work during our project, how we are going to handle risk, racing matrix, and so on and so forth. This was, of course, a rough draft at first, but it evolved over time. Also, we started creating a communication plan, and again, thanks to our customer who actually came up with the people and with ideas who is going to communicating with us and how. Once we established that we are going to use Scrum, we presented first the presentation what the Scrum is even all about, and our customer actually hired some agile coaches to the project who is going to help the customer and the people from the customer side to understand how agile and how Scrum is even works. So we detailed who is going to be communicating with us constantly, who is going to participate in our project, and we detailed it in our communication plan at first. Of course, this was also not complete, but we have been evolving and upgrading this plan ever since. And of course, onboarding knowledge transfer plan that we are were creating, that was also very crucial document for us, because while the core team gathered the information about the upcoming project, we were thinking already about the project team who is going to join this project further down the line. And we tried to come up with initial documentation and initial knowledges that needed to join this project at first. And of course, at first, this onboarding plan was very simple. It didn't have a lot of information. For example, you probably can see on the screenshots that we have some detailed information about the products that we have. I anonymized it actually, but still we do this. We have some video presentations about the project and the application, but we didn't have the product actually during the discovery phase. So what we included is the information about the main correct one this time. We included the information about the way of working, what we are going to do, some information in general about Scrum, for example, to read upon, and some things that were required from each team member, like QA, DevOps, development, BAs, UX, and etc. Once we gathered that, we were also during the discovery phase preparing the demonstrations for our customer, and that was actually interesting experience all in itself, because during the discovery phase we had a lot of workshops and brainstorms, but after the working hours we actually gathered with the core team and discussed what we are going to present next to explain to our customer what we are going to do and how we are going to do this. So my part was QA process presentation, and I'm going to share it here. Please note that this screenshot will probably not be something that you would use during your experience in starting your project, and this is somewhat quite easy to understand and a bit generic at first, but we still presented this schema to the customer. Why we did this? Because our customer had necessary people who would understand what we are talking about, would ask the questions, the necessary questions for them to understand the process more, and to more probably provide some suggestions to change it. And it actually happened during our presentation. I got actually a lot of questions about the process to better for our customer to better understand what we were talking about. We got some suggestions, and in general, our customer after this presentation and after this day understood what we are going to do at the start of our project a lot more than before. And I think this is crucial for customer to understand what is going to happen during the initial stages, so that after the initial stages pass and you start actually working on the project and working on the product you are going to have, you would have more easy time to explain to the customer when you are going to change something and why. Okay. Also, we presented to our customer technical details, some of the technical details, for example, such testing pyramid. Again, our customer had the necessary people who would understand what we were talking about. And actually, our customer from the very start suggested some of the things that you see in this pyramid. Also, it helped us to clarify and understand more about the things that we are going to actually test or not test. For example, what manual testing team would be doing, what automation testing team have to be doing, and what we are not going to be doing at all. For example, you can see security, accessibility, and performance testing. And this is initially out of scope. Why? Because we didn't really have a product at the time, and we didn't really want to concentrate on performance, accessibility, on security at the very first stages of the product. So we didn't see the need to include to our initial QA team any specialist who would be able to do these types of testing. And we discussed it with the customer. We explained our reasoning, and our reasoning has been enough for our customers. So we included it in our testing plan with the remarks basically that if and when we are going to need some security, accessibility, or performance testing, we are going to come up basically with people, add some people to our team who would be able to perform such types of testing. And this helped us to, again, fill in the gaps in our testing plan and strategy and our understanding what we are going to be doing. Once we finished with gathering initial information, and actually even before we finished with the discovery phase, we started coming up with the team. We started trying to understand who is going to work on the project, how many people we are going to need on this project, and which skills are going to be required during the project life. Of course, we cannot foresee everything, but at the very first, we started gathering our team basically, and for me it was a QA team. First, we discussed between ourselves, between our core teams and with our customer on who and how many people is going to be present in our team, and will we actually have the interviews with a customer, or will we do it ourselves, for example. For us, our customer decided that they didn't really want to be present during the interviews for QA team because they wouldn't have necessary expertise to pose right questions and to understand the answers. So they left it up to us to select the team, to understand who is going to work for us, and asked us only to present the CV and present these people to introduce us, basically. What I started doing during the discovery phase is thinking on how many people we are going to need. Of course, I was not only one who were thinking on that. I had help from our Scrum Masters and manager. But we were trying to do the team composition, basically. And we started looking for the people who we need. We started looking for the people and for the required skills that these people have to have. And we came up, I think, approximately with 2 people, and we needed one person to be technically inclined and one person to be more UI testing inclined. Of course, I also touched upon this. We discussed the automation testing team, and at first we needed only one person, and this was our automation lead. Also, we tried to do the projections on how many people we're going to need further down the line, but not to very far ahead, because we cannot really predict on how it's going to turn out. And also we spoke about the seniority and maturity of these people who are going to join our team. And at first, at the initial stages of the project, it was decided that we needed mature people who had a lot of experience doing the testing for the testing team and the developers and the DevOps. Because the project is going to be new, it's going to have a lot of new technologies, and it may have some difficulties with legacy systems as well. So we started gathering these people, and I actually, as I said at the very start, I had a lot of say in who is going to join the team. I participated and sometimes conducted the interviews myself with the people, and was a major voice of decision to who is going to actually join the team. And I think that was actually an awesome experience for me, because before that I didn't actually had the experience of choosing the team and choosing who I'm going to work with, but this time I did, and I tried to establish a good relationship with these teams from the very beginning. And actually, I think this is very crucial for the project when it's budding project, new project, and you gathered your initial team. I think it's crucial to have some kind of a team building exercises as well, because this will help you and your team to know each other better outside of just a work environment, and that would just be a better solution in general for your project, because when you know each other and when you care about each other, this is going to be a great team, I think. So we actually had this, and that was an awesome experience, I think, especially when our customer came to us for the team building, and we had a lot of fun for an entire week. And actually this was like the ideal sprint that we closed absolutely wonderfully, and our burn down chat is basically on our wall, but we still had a lot of fun every day, and that helped us to familiarize ourselves with each other and with the customer, and be a better team basically. So once the discovery phase stops, when you have all the necessary information, when you have everything already, you start working by the setup processes, and these processes may seem to be ideal at the first time, and they may be ideal for the circumstances that you are coming with, but still just remember that such processes is not set in stone, and you just be ready to change them when the time goes, when the project changes, when the team grows. And in our case, actually, that was the case. We had quite a small team at first, but the team grew and grew and grew, and we actually split our one stream for our two applications initially to, I think, 4 streams, and our team also grew a lot. And of course, with new people coming and with new projects coming, we had to change the processes quite drastically, and we're still in process of changing these processes alongside with our customer, who gives us suggestions, and with us, who gives customer suggestions. So this is a close-knit collaboration as well. So most initial plans most likely is going to be changed and adjusted, but do remember that this is a good thing, because you cannot make all of the processes ideal from the start. And listen to your teammates, of course, when the teammates come to you, probably suggesting something or complaining about something. If you are a lead, it's your responsibility to try and change these things for the better. And if not, if you believe truly and see that the processes that currently works are actually already very efficient, it's your responsibility to explain to the team why it is. So in conclusion, I would say that remember to be flexible, remember to change when the time comes, and remember to show the results to the customer and to the team, and also keep in mind that the customer would want the best results and transparency and understanding what is going on. So do not be shy in explaining to your customer what are you doing. And I hope you are going to have a lot of experiences like this. Maybe you are going to start your new project, or maybe you already did, and I hope that would be great. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please ask Irina. If there are any questions, please voice them.
Yeah, while people are thinking about other questions, we have only one question. In your opinion, what is the most difficult when you joined a new project, starting from scratch as QA lead first time?
What is the most difficult for me? Well, for me, the most difficult, I guess, was validation and anxiety, because I did join the teams and I did join the project as a QA lead before, but never a new project before that. And I didn't participate actually in this processes at all before that. So I had the knowledge and ideas how it's done, but I didn't actually do this in reality. So I actually was quite worried I would screw up something or I wouldn't know something, and probably this was most difficult for me to overcome. But I just thought once I was offered this opportunity that this is an opportunity of a lifetime, basically a great opportunity to broaden my knowledge, to understand something more. And so I just decided to overcome basically my fears and go along with the flow, learn something new. And that's it.
Thank you. We have one more question. What items should be taken into account to come up with proper CDLS methodology?
Well, a lot of things. During the discovery phase, we spoke with the customer what project is going to be, what domain we are going to work with, how much involvement from our customer do we get, what team are we going to have, do the customer requires a lot of product increments, and how often do they require it, do they want probably some more strict methodology or something agile. And actually our customer from the very start wanted an agile methodology of some kind, and the Scrum seemed to be the best at the time. Our customer wanted to actually have product increments quite often, so we chose the 2-week sprints, and we explained to our customers that sometimes in 2 weeks we cannot really do a lot, but we explained also that we are going to be able to implement and deliver something. So while it was not that important at first, before we gone to production, or at the very least to UAT environment, that was still a big point for our customer, that they would get some value, some things on the production or on UAT environment fast. So this was also a major deciding factor in this. And of course, our customer was willing to participate in project life quite often. They had people who are going to be involved in the project life all the time, be present on all the necessary meetings, Scrum rituals, and we actually decided that that was a great idea to use Scrum for that. That's
Alexander,
it, I hope.
we have one more question. How long adjustment process lasts after the following the initial QA plan?
Well, for us, it was not that long. I think after the discovery phase ended, we had several weeks. Actually, that was the end of November, the start of December, and we had several weeks where we were just like doing comparisons of the information that we have, creating finishing touches for the documentation, and we were just actually also trying to unwind after the discovery phase. That was about a week. Then when we started gathering the team and started actually working on the first of all requirements that we had, and we had a lot of them and a lot of interesting requirements, so we had to go through a lot of information. The development didn't start at first, so that was an adjustment period for the team. We were just starting to look for the people who are going to join, but it wasn't really long. I think it was about a month or probably 2 months at most. And afterwards, we started working on the prototypes to show to the customer. And I think that was it.
If you get new requirement of new project, what is your approach?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the question.
I suppose person means that during the project you have, in the middle project, you have new requirement, and what's the approach to follow with this?
Well, of course, we have definitions of ready and done. Customer constantly comes to us with new requirements. Sometimes, actually, these new requirements resulted in the new products that we are going to implement, and that resulted in the new team basically being gathered. And even more, so we had several requirements from our customer that resulted in the new discovery phase that some of the team has gone to discover more about these requirements. But in general, of course, our BA team go through these requirements, talk with the customer, talk with the management, and see to that we gather as much details of this requirement as possible. We try not to add new requirements to the sprints on the go, but of course it doesn't always happen. So sometimes we have some requirements that are quite urgent for our customer and we have to add them, but we still try very hard not to add the requirements that are ungroomed, unestimated, and doesn't meet the definition of ready. So we try to avoid it. So basically, when we got new requirements, we go through the usual process of working with them. And if the requirement is too big, we consider talking with the customer if maybe that needs some even new stream. I hope I answered the question.
I hope so. What your views on implementing automation from scratch? How tools will be decided?
How the tools would be decided? Well, I wasn't actually really that close to implementing the automation from scratch. Our automation team lead did this mostly, and he was working with, of course, the information that we gathered during the discovery phase. And based on this information, he was choosing the tools that he's going to need, the frameworks that he's going to work on. He actually, I think, created a new framework for our project, but I cannot really give a more detailed question than that because I wasn't really involved in this. But I think you would need. If you are an automation engineer yourself, of course, you are going to be doing this depending on the information that you gather during the discovery phase. But if you are not, if you are QA lead, manual QA lead like myself, that would be best if it wasn't decided before to suggest very strongly to add the automation test lead as well to the project who is going to be doing that.
Do you think it's a good idea not to start performance testing in the beginning of the project? In your triangle that previously was shown in the presentation, you not included this type of testing.
Well, I think this strongly depends on the project and the project needs and the customer needs. For us, it wasn't really crucial at the beginning because, and well, in my opinion, in general, I think when you are trying to create a project from the scratch and when you're just starting, this is this may not be as important as other testing types because you basically do not really have the application at the point. And maybe you already have some kind of requirements about the performance, but we didn't have it. So we decided it wasn't that important at the time. And in general, I think maybe at the very first stages of the project, it's not as important as something else, just as security, for example, because of course, this depends on the project. Maybe you're working for some, I don't know, government organization or something like that, and security is super important for you. And of course, in that way, you would need, for example, security testing from the very first stages of your project. But in general, I think this is not as important as some other types of testing, but that may change during the project life, and some of this may happen sooner than you imagine. For example, for our project, while we did not include performance testing and security testing at first, we did eventually when we had gone past the prototyping stages, and we already had a staging environment with some workable basically product that we already have, and this product already was interconnected with the legacy system that our customer had. We invited security engineers and performance engineers who helped us to gather the weaknesses which we had, but at the initial stages that was not at all required for us. And I think most likely this is going to be the case for most of the projects, but not all of them.
Okay. What methodologies can be suggested when you first or only one person on the project from QA perspective, in your opinion?
When you are the only project member from the QA team,
yeah,
I think it still depends on the project. Even if you are the only one person who is going to be working on this project for, like, I don't know, foreseeable future, several months ahead or something like that, it still can be considered that the project would benefit from Scrum methodology or Agile methodology. I still think, I'm in general think that Agile methodologies are very good, especially if you have a lot of involvement from the customer. Maybe Kanban or something like that if you are just the only one, and well, it also depends on the size of the team in general, but I think the size of the team would be quite small. If you are the only one QA, it can't be that there are like 50 developers or something like that and you're one QA or something went terribly wrong. But I still think probably Kanban or Scrum would still be viable for the project, but it depends on a lot of things, not only that you are the one tester in the team at the beginning or not.
Okay, I got you. There are frequent changes in requirements, features, and coding, and it will take a lot of testing. It required a lot of testing. So what would you advise for tester? Spend extra time in office as overtime by themselves, or talk to client and convince for extra days for testing and release the product later?
Well, I am against overtimes in general. I probably be a little hypocritical because I do overtimes, but still I am against them in general. And I do not think that the first solution for such a problem would be, yeah, I'm going to spend more time in the office and I'm going to overtime. And in general, even if you want to do overtimes, if you are not the only person in the team, you cannot really go to your team and say, let's go do overtimes without consulting the customer first. And I think when you are talking about such a situation, you have to have discussions with your customer and your manager first. And your first suggestion would still be, and detailed explanation why you are not going to be able to finish this task due deadline that the customer have, and try to convince the customer that maybe more time is needed. Otherwise, maybe the testing would be rushed and incomplete. And also try to suggest to the customer or explain to the customer especially that even if you are going to overtime with your team, first of all, you are not going to be able to say to the customer as a test lead that your team is going to overtime. You can only suggest to your team that the people are going to have overtimes or not. And the team have absolute right to say no. And most likely in this case, when you have a lot of tasks to do, even if you are going to overtime yourself, you are not going to be able to finish on time in any case. So also, aside from that, when you are going to overtime, most likely you're going to overwork yourself. And this may result in bad quality of your testing. So you need to explain to your customer that this is the situation. If it is at all possible, this is better to move the deadlines. But if not, of course, you can ask the customer and the management to approve basically the overtimes, because you never can go to your team and promise them, for example, that these overtimes will be maybe taken as a day offs some other times, or be paid without the approval of the customer and the management. And when you have it, you can go to your team and ask if they are okay with overtimes or not. And still, if the situation is so that you did all of that and you came to your team and team said no, you cannot really do anything but talk to the customer, explain the situation, and try to come up with some other solution, but overtimes. I hope I answered the question.
I hope so. Okay, it's a lack of time, unfortunately. I would like to remind the listeners that we have a link in QXZ community, and you can pose the questions there. And I would like to thank you, speaker Alexander, and you listeners for the tricky and interesting questions. And see you on the next topic.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, and goodbye. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.